Hi there, this is Karen Williams, and today I'm delighted to be interviewing Nii Boi-Dsane. Did I pronounce that right, Nii?
That's right. Nii Boi-Dsane, that's the correct pronunciation, yeah.
Thank you so much. So Nii was introduced to me around about this time last year, and he had started to write a book, but he was struggling with the structure, and he'd had feedback from other people to say it needed a little bit of work and he needed some support with it, and he wanted to organise his ideas better. So initially, you worked with me to get support with your book to reach that first draft, and then earlier this year, you published your book under the Librotas Books imprint. Now, how do I introduce you? Well, you're a transformational life coach, and you have a special interest in health and retirement coaching. Your book is aimed towards those who are thinking about retiring, who haven't quite got there yet, but they're on that road during this sort of transitional period. But most importantly, what I love about your book, and I do have a copy here.
I do have a copy also.
What I love about your book is that, you know, it's all about giving people the tools, the encouragement, and the specific areas that you focus on are health, wealth, and relationships. So thank you so much for joining me for the interview today, and tell us what's happening, you know, what's been happening since you wrote your book. So that's what I really want to find out, because I know it was published.
Well, it's been interesting. People have known that I'm a retirement coach for quite a while now, but then all of a sudden a book, you know, comes out, and I'm getting, you know, invites from LinkedIn and on Facebook and things, and people want to collaborate and things like that, and that it's really interesting and exciting. For me, it also means that once you put a book out there, it means that you've actually condensed your ideas, put them together, and are ready to have people know what you stand for in your field. And for people, professionals then want to contact you out of the blue, to collaborate with you, to do things with you. It means that what you've written, gotten out there, has struck a chord, and people find it useful, and they think that you've got some contribute to their own mission and the work they do. So really good. I think it's more of a validation of what one knows and what one is pursuing, really. And it's all because of the book, because it's written down, everybody can read it, people can make their own judgments as to whether it makes sense or not. Yeah. But it's quite surprising, because prior to that, you know, well, I don't think I remember anyone calling me or wanting to have meetings with me over, you know, the subject. But all of a sudden, people are, you know, coming from all angles, America, Europe, you know, and I don't even have time to handle all of them, you know. So yeah, it's been quite, it's been interesting, and I must say, and the future looks bright.
Fantastic. So what inspired you to write it in the first place?
Well, a number of things. You know, I used to work in corporate relations, and I saw people in very responsible positions, you know, work life. And when they retired, you saw a change in the person, you know, they were before, you know, they went to retirement. Most people think that a good retirement has to do with having money, which is important. But the kind of people I saw, they had money, but they were not happy. Some had money, they had no health. Someone had money, they had health, but relationships had crumbled because, you know, along the journey of trying to, you know, to make money, they sacrificed relationships and health, you know, for money. And obviously, when they went into retirement, those things then came back to haunt them. But a particular episode that really, really got me thinking about retirement was when I visited a client, you know, here in the UK, who was a lady. She had taken an early retirement, and we got talking, and she just was so sad. I said, well, what's your problem? I mean, you are about 40, she was about 49, you know, it was around my age at the time. You can afford to retire at this point in time when most people are now trying to figure out, you know, what to do and actually gearing up for more work. And then I saw, you know, a plaque on her wall that said that there is nothing worse than reaching retirement, having worked hard, feeling old, tired, with nothing to show for it. And it struck a chord. So we started talking about, what was on the plaque. But it still happened that her nothing to show for it was that she had lost contact with her children, which she loved dearly. She was divorced and all that. So you see, the age for everybody is different. Okay, but for her, it was a relationship. So I started thinking about my own retirement. Okay, so all this work wasn't for me. And the more I spoke to people, my friends and other, acquaintances, the more I realized that retirement was a big issue. So I started thinking about, okay, what can I do? I'm a coach, so I've got to put something down. But it took me about 3 years to actually, condense the ideas. And I did write a draft, because I'm a trained playwright. But playwriting is different from writing.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Which was where you came in. Yeah. So yeah, they're totally different fields. Playwriting is different from writing. So I put my ideas down, but obviously it wasn't, in the form that, could be said to be, worthy of anybody buying or reading to start with. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. That's where you came in.
I think everybody's got to start somewhere, haven't they, Nii? They have to start somewhere. And so that leads me to my next question. What did you find were your biggest challenges when you were writing it, or at any stage on the journey?
I think that for me, the biggest challenge was the form of the book, because like I said, I was a playwright, so I knew I could write. I had the knowledge, the legal aspects. Well, I was in law school, so I know how to write the legal aspects.
Yeah.
The financial bits, I had to research. Relationships, well, I have experience in relationships. I counsel people, so I have all these experience and things like that. But it was a form. What form should this book take so it will make sense? And I had written in a form that didn't make sense. It was more like a drama piece, but this is not, this is not a book about drama. Okay. So it was a form. That was my biggest challenge, getting it in a form that would flow organically, from chapter to chapter, from idea to idea. And that will also make an easy read, really.
So how did we...
Thank you for your help anyway.
Oh, you're welcome. So how did we help you to get it out there? What was the biggest difference that we made to the book, what's the biggest difference we made?
Well, there was a lady called Karen Williams. I'm not sure that you know her. Who I'm talking to right now. She came in, and let me tell you why. I first submitted a book to an editor, Louis. And Louis said, look, you're not ready. Your book is not ready. So she directed me to yourself, and then you came in. Yeah. What was good was that I was already using the acronym retirement, and trying to write around it. But then you came in and said, look, you could actually use the acronym as chapters on their own, for the book. And then you helped me weave the whole thing into an organic whole. And then also had these three themes of health, wealth, and relationships. But you really, 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 got me to be able to link the themes to the various chapters, which was wonderful, because you were more or less like, from being a mentor, you were also, my first reader, my first audience, and you were able to actually get me to see things that I hadn't really thought of. And also to see things in different lights. So, I couldn't have written it without you. I'm not saying because you interviewed me, but I'm saying because that is true. And this book wouldn't have come this far, but for yourself, really.
Thank you. And I think a lot of people do struggle with structure because they've got so many ideas up here. It's how do you get it out in a way that's easy for people to read, easy for people to digest, and easy for people to do something with after they've read it, so they know where to go next as well. I speak to a lot of people who say, I spoke to someone recently saying, I'd like the book to do this. He'd already written and published it, but it didn't have the call to action that I think was needed to actually allow the book to actually work for his business. So being, thinking about all of those aspects are key, the structure of the book, but also what happens next. Where do people go after they've read it? how can they get in touch with you? Just really small things I think some people do miss because, it's so easy when you're so close to your own work.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes you love the words you've written. You love how you've couched things, but they don't work. And you have to be able to let go.
Definitely. That's a hard thing for many people. And when is it good enough?
Exactly.
I find that with so many people, they just want to keep tweaking and tweaking, but there has to be, and I struggle with that myself, being a recovering perfectionist, there has to be a stage where you go, the book is good enough, I'm happy with it. And, there's nothing stopping people doing a second edition later if they wish to do so. But yeah, you have to let go sometimes. I'm glad you did. It is a really well-written book.
Yeah, thanks.
So obviously you had it published through us, so you went back to Louise, who works alongside me, and obviously Sam, to get it published as well. And I really do like the way it's designed and how it brings your words to life on the page as well.
Yeah, thanks. And I must say, Louise was also one of my. Well, she was the editor, but she was not just an editor. She challenged me. She said, "Nii, why did you use he instead of she? Why can't you use they?" Because obviously I was writing it from a perspective from a male perspective.
Yeah.
My examples, were traditional, if I may say so. So when I'm talking about breadwinner, I always used he. And she goes, "Why can't it be she?"
Love it.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I learned a lot. She challenged me to really to pursue excellence, which is what this book is all about. And I'm really grateful to her. Not only Sam, her design was inspired. It was really inspired me. And I realized that we kind of worked really seamlessly, and I enjoyed working with yourself and your team. And my next book, I'll come back to you.
And I know there's another one, so I might talk about that later. So I know it's early days. I know the book has only been out a few months, but what have been your biggest successes so far? I know you touched on a couple earlier, but what would you say is the biggest, maybe one or two?
I think my biggest success is my own learning. My own learning in respect of the journey of getting the book published. My own learning, that's my biggest success, because at the end of the day, I was writing the book first and foremost for myself. Mm-hmm. I wrote it for myself as somebody who is newly employed, for the self that was thinking about retirement, for the self that had retired and thinking back and saying, okay, so was that a dream? What has worked? What could I have done better? Mm. So those three selves. And it's amazing how much one learns by, through the process of writing. And I learned a lot of things about myself, a lot of things about the subject itself. So really it was my own learning. That has been my biggest success, because I think I feel much more confident about my own retirement prospects. I feel much more confident about the field I'm in. I can talk about the subject on any platform, and talk about it confidently. It doesn't matter who the audience are. I'll be able to handle the subject because I've done my work, and thanks to yourselves, it was very rigorous. So yeah, it's my own learning, really. That's my biggest success, I must say.
And I think what you've just said, about confidence in your subject as well. I think when you do write a book, it makes it so much easier, even if you're, I will go and speak in front of an audience, but it's not my preferred place to go. If I could do anything, writing, content creation, other things that I love doing. But actually, when I talk about writing a book, because I've written quite a few myself, there's so much knowledge, I can respond to pretty much anything. And obviously it's the same with you with retirement, that people, you've got that wealth of knowledge now, you've got your process, you've got your system. It makes it so much easier to get that across on any medium. So whether you do a talk, a program, a workshop, you've got so much content and valuable information that you can use to help people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And I think that's important, and that's one of the unexpected benefits of writing a book. You have a book in your hand that you're proud of, that you can talk about, and the credibility builder is, you mentioned right at the very beginning. But there's so much more to it than just having a book in your hand, I think.
Yeah. And I think if you wrote a book and you didn't learn, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
there's always new things to learn, and I must admit, even with mine, it's like I could easily do book marketing made simple. I could easily do a second edition now because I've learned even more on the journey through helping other people, and the things that work and the things that don't work so well, and technology moves on as well.
And you see, it also humbles you. It humbles you in ways that you never thought it would. And I think it humbles you because you know that even though you've written a book and have researched extensively on a subject, it's a changing field and there are new things, coming along all the time. And it humbles you because you know how much you have taken the subject for granted and how much people take it for granted. It humbles you because people take retirement for granted. I mean, if we are lucky, we'll get to retire. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
And which not everybody who enters the workforce gets to retire anyway, so it's a privilege. Unfortunately, we don't prepare for it. I mean, most people, you go to school, you learn what subject to take, what career, for your career. But we never take the time to prepare for retirement. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
It's totally different,
Yeah.
And so it humbles you that you have been able to do this and to look that far. Yeah. And especially when people, one of my law professors wrote to me, I sent her a copy of the book. She wrote to me and said, Nii, I couldn't put the book down. I finished reading it and I've implemented all the things that you suggested. I have my advanced decisions and everything else. And I'm saying, really? You see, so that is humbling to think that your former law professor would actually write to you and say,
amazing.
The things that you recommended in the book, the things that I taught you, that you now recommended, I have done them. You understand? So
yeah,
that is it. It's wonderful. But like I said, it's a learning process. You're learning things about yourself, things that you never knew, and things like that. And it's good to be able to share this knowledge with people who have shared theirs with you.
Yeah. Well, I learned so much myself because, I'm in my mid-40s. I've not really thought about retirement yet. And will I ever retire? Who knows? Because I do what I love every day. But, it's useful to, even now, maybe 20 years out, to be thinking, okay, so what do I need to do to prepare now to make sure that, I am in the best health, that I have got the best wealth, the best relationships. All of that is just so important. And it's never too early to start thinking about it, in my view.
Yeah, and like we said, discuss retirement is not necessarily about, okay, stop work, sit in a rocking chair. No. I mean, there are phased retirements, sabbaticals, things like that. It is all about a change in pace, a change in order, a change in priorities, and how to bring all those things together.
Yeah.
But we've made retirement to be, okay, you work to a certain point in time and you stop. No, you could still be working in retirement. It's just, emphasis, a change in emphasis, Well,
things are changing so much, aren't they? The traditional model that we used to have is just not there anymore. The traditional model is that you retire at 60, 65, you go on holidays and things like that. It isn't the same anymore. My mum retired many years ago, but my mother-in-law, who's well in her 70s, she's self-employed and still works. She needs to work, So I think there's the model of retirement has changed so much as well.
And that's true.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to understand that.
Yeah. And then it's up to you to educate people, isn't it? For people who don't understand it, your book helps to educate them with it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping that people will see that aspect of it, But it's not just, a lot of the books I've seen on retirement deal with finance. How do you make the money? Or some of them, okay, things to do in retirement. Well, there are things to do, but if you don't have your health, how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And your relationships are not in good order, how are you going to enjoy it? So it's about taking everything on. It's a journey. So you bring everything together and move forward slowly. And also it's about balance, really.
Yeah.
You could still be working even you're 70, like you said, your is your mother-in-law,
Yeah, my mother and mother-in-law, similar age, but
and still be in retirement and still be working and enjoying life. It doesn't have to be stopping one thing to do another. Yeah. But it's about getting the balance right.
Yeah. So, would you say that there's a particular result or outcome that you've got so far, or are you still working on the marketing plan, I'm assuming?
Well, I'm working on the marketing. I mean, that's probably the most difficult aspect of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on Amazon, the book's on Amazon, and people are buying. I don't have the actual figures yet, but people are buying and downloading and things like that, which is great. Um, but I think there's a bigger audience than what we've been able to attract so far. Obviously, I mean, we haven't been selling for that long.
No.
Yeah, so really, it's about the market. And now, what is good is I've got people who are actually interested in selling the book.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay. Both in the UK and Ghana.
Fantastic.
I've sent something to various libraries, give them copies.
Yeah.
And the first thing that they do is, okay, I want to read it first. The librarian says, I want to read it first. Okay. I said, well, you read it, you like it, you can go order it. So, but the initial reaction is always positive, which is what is heartwarming.
Yeah.
Because if you take a book to a library and the first thing they say, I want to read it first, it's good.
Yeah.
But what I also do is I try to locate people who are kind of in the zone of thinking about retirement, And I mean, most of the senior librarians are in that age bracket anyway.
Yeah.
So once you give them, oh, I want to read it first. That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, read it. If you like it, order more copies for the library.
Fantastic. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
It's all right.
I was just going to ask you, what advice would you give other people that are embarking on the journey and they've either started writing their book or they're thinking about doing so?
I think the most important thing is know your subject.
Mm-hmm.
Know your subject. Know what you know and know what you don't know. And by that I mean that, first of all, you have to know your subject. That is not non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So you know that, but know what you don't know. For me, what I didn't know was that writing a book like this was different from writing a dramatic play. Yeah. So now I know. Okay. So know what you know your subject, know what you don't know, and go and seek help.
Yeah.
And I think that the investment in getting an established book writing coach like yourself and a team at Librotas is well worth any amount of money that anybody could pay for it. Yeah, because writing isn't just about putting words on paper or stringing words together.
Mm.
There's a format, and every subject demands a different kind of form and format and structure.
Mm-hmm.
Even the same subject, depending on the treatment, will call for different structures and formats. Yeah. And seek help. Find a coach. If you can do it yourself, fine. But believe you me, and we are specialists, and we need to be.
Yeah.
And people, there's a reason why people, are specialized in certain areas. So go seek help. So what I will say is two things: know your subject, but also know what you don't know. And when you need help, go seek help. Don't sit down and just make a mess of the subject, because that would be very costly.
Mm.
So that's what I would say, really.
So have you got another book that you're thinking about doing?
Yeah, I think I spoke to you about last time. It's on time management, and okay. I think time management has been hyped up too much, and my readings have taught me that it's not really about time management; it's about managing yourself, self-management. So a book I'm planning. I've actually planned it. I haven't gotten time to write up, but I have the format and everything and planned. It's called Untimed. Okay, just Untimed, and why time management is a waste of your time, and what your options are.
Sounds good to me.
So untime yourself. When we're growing up, we're told to, manage your time. But well, it's not about time really. Because if you are tired, for example, you can't work, can't be productive.
Yeah.
So it's more about managing yourself. Time flows. We cannot constrain time. We cannot manage time. We can only use time. And we can only use time efficiently if we ourselves are in a situation to take advantage of time.
Yeah.
So if I have 2 hours and I'm tired, how productive am I going to be? If I have 2 hours to write something and I don't have the subject under control, I'm not going to be productive. The time is still there. So it's not about the time, it's about managing yourself, managing your knowledge, your content, and other things. So that's the angle from which I'm coming. And I'm not the first one to write about this. I mean, there are, snippets of information on this subject. People have started questioning about this whole thing about obsession with time. We must start looking at ourselves in terms of productivity and what we bring to the table. The time is there. If you are very efficient, if you are in a good state, you could use the time effectively to be productive. Otherwise, it's really useless. Imagine you were ill. You will have all the time, but how productive are you going to be?
Exactly. So how do you see that linking to Retirewell that you've already published? I'm assuming there's going to be a very similar audience in that respect.
Yeah, but on time, the time management book is going to be more. It's going to be a much broader audience than that, because then you got people who are professionals in their work, struggling with time, and things like that. And also got people who have retired or are retiring and struggling with how to use their time and things like that. So it is going to embrace a much broader audience. Obviously, it's also going to involve yourselves, Librotas.
Of course, we're happy to help you.
So that's what it's going to be like. And but it's a subject that I have been thinking about for a while. It took me 3 years to actually get Retirewell out from thinking about it to now. But and why? Because I never could I never could find the time, so to speak, to write. But once I got into the rhythm of it, we were able to do it. So it's really to help all of us take control of ourselves, to be able to use the time that we have more effectively.
Fantastic. So how can people find out more about you and find out more about your book? Can you give us some web links and things like that?
Well, the website for Retirewell is Retirewell is one word, .me, M-E. And through that link, you could also go to my coaching website, which is sanuswellbeing.com. Also one word. Sanus is S-A-N-U-S and wellbeing, .com. So it's retirewell.me, M-E.
That's fine. I'll pop all the links below the video anyway, so people can find out, get a copy of the book. I know that there's a page where people can buy it. It links to Amazon, or you just go onto Amazon and search for Retirewell. And, I will say it's, if for anybody who's thinking about retirement, who's, even if you're 20 years away from it and you want to make the most of it, and you want to actually make the most of your life until you get there as well, because you don't want to just wait till your retirement and then go, what's next? It's really about how to make the most of life.
Actually, like as we spoke about, we talked about it, retirement should start from the first day with the first paycheck. Really, that's when you start planning. Once you enter the workforce, you got to start planning, because that's what it is. And the better prepared you are, the better your retirement prospects, really. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for sharing a little bit more about your book. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Karen and Librotas. And I'm really grateful for to you for helping me realize this book. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.